Thanks, Chair. Just a couple of quick follow-up matters on the Richardson review. Given the minister's comment earlier, I think it's pretty important to put on the record that Mr Richardson found, and I quote, "We did not see evidence of any ministerial involvement in the regional processing contract or procurement decisions, and the Secretary of Home Affairs said he never discussed such decisions with the Minister for Home Affairs. We did not come across any matter of deliberate wrongdoing or criminality." But moving on, I share Senator McKim's bemusement about the timing of the release of this report, which does seem a little bit convenient. I note that Senator Polley didn't have any trouble getting across the contents of it in the very short period of time in which it's been public, which is interesting.
Very efficient.
I note that the contents of the report itself were quoted in Nick McKenzie and his colleagues' report in the Sydney Morning Herald and The Age, and also on 60 Minutes. And of course, as you've noted, Ms Foster, Mr Richardson appeared in 60 Minutes. Mr Richardson's a very proper person. I'm sure he wouldn't have done that without authorisation. Who authorised Mr Richardson to appear in 60 Minutes and to speak to Sydney Morning Herald and The Age?
I don't think Mr Richardson would feel he needed authorisation as a starting point, but certainly he advised me as a courtesy that he was going to appear, but he did not seek any authorisation from me.
So it's a matter for independent reviewers of confidential reports handed to government to decide the timing and the place of when the contents of those reports become public without any approval from the government.
Senator, I think I was making a slightly different point.
That's why I'm clarifying.
I don't think he would seek authorisation to speak to a journalist, but I don't know the details of his appearance.
Well, at the time that he would have sat down for the interview with 60 Minutes and The Age and Sydney Morning Herald, which would have been at least days, if not weeks ago, the report was not public. And the report and the 60 Minutes episode went to air before the report was released this morning by the government. I'm assuming you're not suggesting that it's a matter for independent reviewers to decide when and how the contents of reports become public.
No, I'm not, Senator. I was making a broader point about Mr Richardson's
Indeed, and I know Mr Richardson, and I'm sure that he would not, off his own bat, decide that it would be to become public in this way and in this time without authorisation from the government. So my question is, who in the government authorised him to conduct those interviews?
It certainly wasn't the department, Senator.
Minister, do you have any knowledge of that?
No, I don't.
Can you take it on notice, please? I note that Mr McKenzie and his colleagues also had access to the report before it was released and quoted from it at length in their coverage. By my count, this is the third occasion on which a confidential report commissioned by the Department of Home Affairs has found its way to Mr McKenzie before it was publicly released. The Nixon report and the Parkinson report were also quoted at length by Mr McKenzie prior to their publication. He's a very good journalist, no doubt has many sources, but it does seem curious that the same journalist on 3 occasions has got access to reports commissioned by this government into Home Affairs. Has the department inquired into how this happened?
No, Senator.
These reports are confidential and in some cases have classified elements. It's not of concern to you that journalists are able to access this at will, apparently?
Senator, you referred earlier to the reports being commissioned by, I think, the Department of Home Affairs. I think
the government, I think I said,
anyway,
in the Department of Home Affairs.
I think in all cases they were reports commissioned by the government.
Right. Are you suggesting then it was the government that leaked these reports?
No, Senator, I'm suggesting that they were government reports rather than the departmental reports. You asked me if it was a concern for me. I'm trying to make a distinction between a report that I commissioned and had responsibility for and one I don't.
So you don't have any concern that there's a leak from the Department of Home Affairs of these confidential and sensitive reports?
I don't have any reason to believe, Senator, that any of my staff released that report.
So it's much more likely, isn't it, that the Minister's office released it?
I couldn't comment on that, Senator.
Okay. I think it's pretty clear